Hey, listeners. Today's episode is brought to you by Kind Bar. Kind is deeply committed to crafting food with real, recognizable ingredients, a disruptive notion that sparked the creation of a new, healthy snacking category. Kind is unapologetic in their efforts to challenge the status quo, to shift the food industry, and empower the community and our listeners to make better, more informed choices about their health. Kindness can be a transformative force for good, and that is why we are teaming up with Kind to bring our listeners 10% off or 15% off for military, teachers, students, first responders, doctors, and nurses. Go to podgo.co/kind. That's podgo.co/kind. Kind Bar, creating a kinder and healthier world, one act, one snack at a time. Welcome back, Inebri-arts. This is Andy, the Inebri-art podcast. Joining us from across the ocean, Bandini. Welcome to the show, man.
Hello, Andy. Nice to hear from you.
So we've had a lot of musicians on recently, and Kyle T. Harris from Spirit Records has sent you our way. So we're always happy when he sends us people. But how would you describe your music? Like, what kind of style is it? I hate asking people like what style, because everyone, I feel like music is
I understand you.
Yeah.
I hate to say jazz because it put you in all of that spectrum. It's not really that, but it's jazzy in terms of. I will say that it's more like gypsy in terms of traveling and experience, jazz in terms of loving weird, fucked up harmonies, and there is definitely blues, and there is a lot of influence from European songwriting and Italian songwriting because I'm from Italy. Mm-hmm. I live in London, but like I'm from Italy. At the moment, I'm at my parents' house because of the war that is ending. So.
Yeah, but it's ending so slow, man. I wish it would just end faster.
Right? It's just weird. This is not good. Yeah, this is not finishing. I'm like, I'm just stuck here. That's all right.
So what were you doing before? Were you on tour, or were you in the studio?
Before the end of the war?
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, it was. I started the year that was really good because we did actually, like, for some reasons, like we did with the band, we did our first real proper gig in Milan, actually. So I took everyone from London back to Italy. Actually, the only one Italian in the band is me and the bass player, and we did a massive show, which is part of a sort of a festival, immersive festival, which is called Twist and Shout, mm-hmm. And we were the main band. There were like 3,000 people, and we played 2 hours set, and that was great. And you can find all of that on YouTube. But then after that, we came back, and the plan was to go straight into the studio and start recording the new album with Spiritual Records. But then the plague started, so I locked myself into Spiritual Bar and in Camden. And I can tell you that story later if you want.
It's funny because every time Kyle sends us someone, we end up talking about Camden, how much I love Camden. I spent a very little time in England, and I skipped all the tourist things and went right to Camden. It was such a fun time.
When was that?
Oh God, 19 years ago.
19 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, I only remember specifically 19 years because my son just turned 18, and it was a year before he was born. So.
Okay. Too bad.
So, how did you come from a musical family? You said, was it your grandmother was?
Yeah. So my grandmother from my mom's side, back in the days. I'm gonna say like 60s. She was a cabaret entertainer. She was like doing like it's kind of like rollerblade skating, dancing, and singing for like theaters and stuff. She never made it completely professional, but like she had it, and she did it for a long while. And also, my grandmother grew me up when I was a young child. Looking at like the classic Frank Sinatra and all of that. So she was the first one to give me musical knowledge, and then my sister and my aunt are dancer. My sister is a professional dancer, and then my dad is a blues lover, and my uncle is an Italian singer-songwriter. So there was everything. My granddad was an actor, but like then he was also a barber. So no one actually became big with art, but they all did it all their life. That's if you want to go that way.
And so when you were younger, was it more something that you wanted to do, or was it kind of thrust upon you and you learned to love it?
Oh, that's a good question. It's a funny story because back to my sister. My sister was a musical genius. She had a perfect pitch. She was studying classical music when I was discovering punk rock. So then for the family, I was definitely the black sheep. And she was like doing classical music and all of that. She hated it, and she quit music because of the classical music, and she started dancing. And then I just wanted to be like, oh, everyone wanna do this sort of like perfect jazzy blues music and everything. It was like, I'm just gonna shout in a microphone and playing guitar really loud. And then, you grow up and you become a little bit older, and then you're like, oh, fuck, that jazz thing was good. This songwriting was also good. Oh, yeah. Oh, there was folk. There was that. And I went back into all my family knowledge of music. And I was like, right, teach me again.
All that stuff you wanted to teach me, now you can.
Yeah, pretty much.
So earlier you mentioned like gypsy music. That is something that over here in the States, we're really not. I think the only reference I have at all is Go-Go Bordello. But
well, I love Go-Go Bordello.
Oh, they're great. They put on a hell of a show. But how would you describe that? Like, what's its origins?
Go-Go Bordello do that kind of like, that rhythm. The song starts wearing purple.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that rhythm that is kind of that Eastern European kind of like gypsy swing. How can I describe it? Do you know Django Reinhardt?
No.
Reinhardt?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So like, it's that kind of thing. Listen, what I can do is really easy. Do you mind if I play you something?
No, please.
Right. I'm just here. So it's something that when you have a rhythm like this.
Yeah.
That kind of feel of, I don't know, gypsy thing.
Was that something that was part of your family, or did you kind of like pick it up along the way?
That rhythm influence is a big influence in European and a lot of Italian songwriting. Well, that song that I was playing is actually an Italian artist, and which is called Paolo Conte, and but is a mix. Gypsy music is a mix because, of course, it's gypsy, so it travels and influences a lot of Southern Europe. So Italy have it, and Southern France, they have a massive gypsy festival in Marseille, and it's kind of constantly around you because even if you don't know it, someone is using that rhythm. Even if it's a pop song, we're talking more about. You're talking about like that kind of like song, like proper like when you go into songwriting, not pop music, that kind of thing. I'm trying to think about an American artist that do something like that. Tom Waits, which I love, does that sometimes. He uses a lot of that kind of gypsy European influence, but I'm not gonna say I do like professional gypsy music is a completely different thing. It's like usually it's 3 guitars, a double bass, and one of 2 guitars does the main melody. They switch between solos and melody, and it's more of a tradition of storytelling. So you see how much music the genre gypsy involved into it.
It's funny, like American music, like if you really look at it, there's really no such thing because it's all just, we're all immigrants, so it's all a mishmash of music from all over that we've kind of just.
I think it would be more related to the most traditional thing that you have. I know that you don't have gypsy sound in there, but instead you have country music, which is pretty much storytelling and have a definite sound.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
So when you're writing your music, like, where do you find inspiration, and do you start with the melody first or the?
Yeah. Funny enough, like I've been asked this question recently by part of the family. Anyway, it depends. When I write a melody first is because I have no idea and I'm just fucking around with the piano or the guitar, and I found a nice progression of chords and a melody, and then I put the words on it. Most of the time, the way that it goes, I have an idea that comes from something that I see, something that happened. I don't know. A stray dog, whatever like comes to me and then I was like, oh, that would be a cool song to do about that. And then I start making music, thinking about the story that I want to tell about something that I've seen. Or that's pretty much the way that I prefer to do that, because then you don't struggle with the lyrics. Because when you have the melody first, but you have nothing to say, I hate that, because I'm like, oh, this song would be great if I have some fucking something to say.
So do you find it you can only write when you have kind of that inspirational moment where you want to write about something?
When I'm happy about the song, is because is that. I can, if you put me on the spot, we can write a song. I'm not going to say I'm going to be happy with it.
Right.
But the moment that I'm happy about a song is just because I'm like, all right, I got this idea, this concept, any concept. It's pretty much storytelling, really. I have the story to tell. That's great. Let's make some music for this story. And then that is most of the time, that's the challenge as well. And that is when I'm happy,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we'll say storytelling, really.
Yeah. And how has this whole lockdown quarantine nonsense been for you? I've talked to so many people, and people tend to fall on one side or the other. Is they either find it clears up their I have nothing to do, so I have plenty of time to create, and then like myself, I had a really hard time working on anything because I just had no motivation. Like, which side were you on?
It's in between. I'm getting really bored at the moment about that. And but when it started, I was happy. And because the first month, like the first I'm going to tell you a story. Sorry, I have like a mosquito here. The first month of lockdown in London, crazy story. What happened is that I was moving house at that time, so I stopped moving house because I lost all my jobs.
Yeah.
Then Kyle for sure told you we have like this community in Camden, Spiritual Bar. So then I called my friend Raphael from Spiritual Bar, and I was like, hey, I don't have a house. Can I sleep at the bar and be there? And the guy was like, yeah, for a few times and everything. But then he went to Brazil, so then he gave me his flat, and then I can use the bar to write music, which basically that's what I did. I locked myself into a bar for a month. And I start writing music, go back, sleep, and then write music again. And I came up with a lot of ideas, and that was great. I'm actually about to release a song that came out during lockdown, which is a cover of a cover. Is a cover of Tom Waits and Mark Ribot version of Bella Ciao, which is a traditional Italian folk song, post-war anti-fascist. And I
Yeah.
arranged that and record part of it in an empty bar, and the rest was like from remote with my band. So the song is going out on the 11th of September, and funny day. And but then yeah, apart from that, lockdown became, of course, also depressing. Not depressing, wouldn't say depressing, but every day is the same day, and that's shit. You
It,
have nothing to look forward to.
yeah, it's. I think the thing that I found most depressing, and I've kind of, as the year has progressed, I have had to do it less. But in the beginning of the year, it's just going through my calendar and whiting out all these events that we had scheduled and being like, nope, that one's canceled, that one's canceled. And I think that was the most depressing part. Not, now it's later in the year. I hadn't planned so much now, so I think that kind of.
It's funny how fast you get used to things, is it?
Yes. Yeah.
Now nobody's shocked about. Before, everyone was like saying exactly what you're saying. Oh, cancel everything. There is nothing to do. And now everyone is like, well, there is nothing to do. Nothing changed. Like, it's not a surprise anymore. We just got used to it.
Yeah. We're actually starting to get a little bit of live music coming back. They're doing some like socially distant outdoor venues. I went and saw a friend of mine play the other night, and people are so eager to do things that it was just getting over raining, but it was still raining, and so people are still sitting outside at these tables in the rain.
How amazing is that we have to lose, as always, what we got to then have people appreciating that. I expected people to love music, live music again, because they didn't have it for so long. So that's completely normal, but I always find it funny. I'm like, you had live music all your life, you didn't really care, and now you really want it. So like, it's not that bad, is it?
Yeah, it is funny because it's like you think about just the simplest things about, it's maybe it's Friday night, you don't have anything to do. I live right in the heart of Plymouth, so I can just walk 3 blocks to half a dozen bars, and I used to be able to just walk down and find someone I knew and sit down in a bar and have a beer with them, or sit and have a beer and wait till I found someone I would know and run into. But now you just can't do that. Like, it's not a thing.
Yes, you just can't.
So you're sitting there on like a Friday night being like, I have nothing to do, and even if I called someone up to do something, we couldn't go anywhere. So it's very strange.
And if we go, we need to all wear a mask, and we can't hear each other. So then you're like, I'm just going to stay home, man.
Have you already started making plans? And I talked to a few people who are already like kind of starting to plan next year. Have you kind of thought about that, or are they just still in a holding pattern?
There is many ideas. This is a funny question. I've been... I'm going back to London in 2 weeks because I need to record something, and then I'm going to stay there for a little bit just to check out the situation, which doesn't look great at the moment for a lot of things that are happening between, of course, COVID and political issues, Brexit and all of that, which is all fine. It's just like is really tense at the moment. So I might go up and down, but from Italy and there. I don't know, this whole lockdown thing made me rethink about, maybe travel, try different things now in terms of music, and maybe experience new places. I don't know, because it took a lot away, and then I was like, well, maybe it should be good to take this moment to appreciate something else. I don't know, a house in the countryside where you build a studio and you invite artists could be an idea that I have over the holiday.
Yeah.
I'm just exploring. I'm really exploring what is in my head, and I'm focusing is like what really makes you feel good about yourself and your life, which is not related to where you are and what you do. It's just like, when do you feel good I'm focusing a lot on that.
Yeah. Do you find, like I said, every artist is different. Do you work better when you're feeling good, or are you kind of more of a melancholy creator that you have to be in a bad mood to?
It's both ways. If I need to be relaxed, that's all it is. In terms of like when I say feeling good, I don't mean I'm happy. I mean I'm in peace. Because if I'm in peace, I can think clearly. And most of the time, if I'm not thinking clearly, I will have a great idea, but I will rush it or I will execute it in a rough way. Where that's great for an idea, but I love to work on it in a peaceful environment. So yes, to reply to your question is both. I actually rather to have something drastic happening so I can write a song about it. I've wrote so many songs about plagues, lockdown, Day of the Dead, anything. That's great. That's a lot of fun. So you need something drastic, but then to work on it, I need to be in peace. You know what?
Yeah. Do you kind of like work on those rough ideas, and then when you are at peace, go back and kind of flush them out and make them?
Exactly. I see it. I really wish I could paint. I can't. So I see making music as doing a painting. Mm-hmm. So I have the sketch, and then when it's the right time, I just take the sketch and I want to make it into a painting. You know?
Yeah. So when you are turning your music sketch into a painting sketch, are you adding more instruments? Is it more about kind of like refining or changing the melody or the words? Like
changing the melody, refining, adding instruments, changing the lyrics, work on what you want to say. Sometimes you put down rough ideas of what you want to say, and then for me lyrics are really important. So then I go back to it and I'm like, do I need to say those things? Do I want to say those things? And if I do, well then let's have every line to have a good meaning, you know. Otherwise we're just throwing words away, which is also a good way to do things. But I don't know, it's balance. So I don't know, I got lost.
All right, so let's get unlost. So you are in Italy now?
I'm in Italy now, really close to Venice, yes.
And so you have been living in London. How has Brexit affected you? Has it affected your music or the music industry at all? Because I'm American, we've heard of it. We don't really know what the hell's going on.
Well, it's like Canada wasn't Canada and then suddenly became Canada.
Yeah.
If you want to see it in terms of music and all of that. So it does affect the market because it's a market, and then splitting the market, and which I'm sure they will find a solution. There is a lot of beef going on about things, which, to be honest, I'm so sick about it that I don't even read it anymore. So I'm not that updated, but that's pretty much the way that I see it. That's a whole political issue. And the political issue is just basically an argument between Europe and UK. And to be honest, funny enough, is also because UK is an island. People say, like, what does that mean? I'm like, it does mean a lot. Sicily and don't want to be part of Italy, and is an island. It is part of Italy. But if you talk to a Sicilian, they're not Italian. Right. And it works like this for everyone, you know?
Oh, sure. There's parts of Canada that don't want to be part of Canada. And
so on that side, I don't worry too much. Also, I've been in London for so long that personally it doesn't affect me at all. It will be affecting London in terms of, you see, London is when you think about England, after you see London, you don't think about London. London, even English people and people born and bred in London, they don't see London as part of England because they are two different places. And London is based on complete multicultural people from all over the planet. They've been there for ages. And it's pretty much the beauty of the city. You go there because of that.
Right.
And most of the people that works there, they are literally from everywhere. So changing that influx of people, and also, people also come. They don't have. There is also this whole political thing of like immigrants are coming and all of that. That's never true. We know that in terms of like people come, it's not really true that they will stay. People come and goes in city like London.
Yeah.
And the one that they stay just because they fully integrate. So then, they are Londoners. So like, but that's the thing that worries me the most in terms of a musician is losing the beauty of being able to switch from an indie rock bar, a purely folk English bar, and then suddenly end up into a Brazilian bar that play Brazilian music and carry on like this for the whole town in the night.
Yeah.
Like you can see people that express themselves from everywhere, and that's the beauty of that place. So if you lose that, well, London is expensive, is crummy, is murky. Take the music away, take the people away. I'm like, well, what we got left?
Yeah, it's weird how like, it was making me think of like New York City.
Yeah.
And when people think of New York, they don't even think of the state; they just think of the city. But like, the majority of New York State is very farms and rural, and like once you get outside of the major cities, it's desolate.
Yeah, it's a different place. I know, but yeah. So to answer your question, I don't know. I am I'm see how things are gonna go. There's something that I'm gonna tell you, which is gonna be interesting maybe for the interview. Is a lot of people are leaving London. A lot of English people are moving out of London. A lot of Londoners moving out of London, moving to other places like Brighton, Bristol. They're becoming really, alive. They were before, but and a lot of other people are experimenting different major cities like Copenhagen. I am pondering to be between Milan and London. I don't know. I was about to come to US before the plague started, before the COVID started and everything. I have my flight booked to US and I wanted to travel for like 2 or 3 months, and then that's all gone.
Where were you planning on going to?
I was flying to New York, and then I will. The idea we're going down to Philly, then to Nashville, New Orleans. I wanted to do the Teasel thing, and then Austin, and then I have family in California. So then I was San Mateo, San Diego, all of that.
Nice. That's a trip.
That's the trip. I wanted to do all of that, and then I have to cancel everything.
Well, there's parts of our country that aren't bad. It's not always the most enjoyable place to be right now, but it's weird how there's certain areas that just seem to attract musicians and artists. Like Plymouth, people tend to think of as a historical town. That's where the Pilgrims first landed, and but now it's more. It's a destination that people, even just a few towns away, it's their, when they go out at night, they come down here because it's got places that have live music 3-4 times a week, and there's performing arts center and an art museum and great restaurants. Why do you think that all those places seem to kind of congregate, and then you have like huge swaths of areas that there's nothing going on? So like, because you're like, oh, you think about Milan, or even when you were talking about the U.S., you had spots that you wanted to hit, and they're all, Nashville, and they're very music centered. But why do you think they kind of center around one place?
Do you want to talk about why cities and places basically become most popular rather than others that are good as well, but they're not that popular?
Yeah, I suppose that's the...
Yeah. let's scrap for a second my US trip, because the reason why I choose those places was also because I have contact there. Otherwise, I would choose different places maybe. In terms of like, oh man, that's a beautiful question. I think that there's two things. First, whether or not we want to be like that, I think we live on kind of like these, how would you say, uh, global cultural, uh, mass mediatic commercial thing, that we know a place because everyone has been talking about it, because we see any movie, because we know Ben from there, and all of that, and then in our head it just becomes the place, and the place where to be, because things happens there, which then lead us to not discover other places. To be honest, that's of course why back in the times I choose to live in London. I love London. I would never thinking to actually leave London for. I've been here for 3 months. I've never been in Italy for 3 months since I left, since I moved to London. So, I think it's a lot related to that, and the idea that you have of a place, and but I think as well that is changing, and it's changing a lot, because people are starting. I think not people. People is us. So we are all waking up and be like, "Hey, man, why do I spend this money to live in this big place? But actually, there is so saturated, and everyone comes here, and we kind of like lost the reason why we were here. So why don't we check out the other place?" And then the other place are just there. It was like, "Hey guys, come here, because it's just four of us, but we do great stuff." And
Yeah.
I think it's pretty much that's the way that it goes, and I think it's really on you. I wouldn't suggest to anyone to scrap the big places, because I think it's always good to see a big place. It's always good to, if you never live in a big city, I think you should, because you really temper you. It's hard, and
Yeah.
you change. But then after a while, I think that most people really realize that is like, this is not really what you want. What you want, you wanna be like, instead of 10,000 people, you wanna be like, I'm around 100 people, and we all appreciate each other, and then maybe sometimes I go to see 10,000 people.
Do you think that our ability to connect on things like Zoom and people record with their bands remotely now, do you think that's making those major cities less needed? Because back in the day, people were like, "Oh, I'm going to Hollywood to become a celebrity or movie star," and now it's like, "Oh, I can start a YouTube channel in my own home and end up on TV."
100%. 100%. I'm gonna be 100% in terms of like all of that stuff of like, as a creative actor, musician. Definitely, you can become a superstar from your home now. So like, there's no need of that. I think also something that I believe is that that kind of dream is dying. The dream of Hollywood and London, and then I'm going to the big city to become a star is at the end. And I think that most people that I met in London, of course, you always have, I'm going to go to London because it's where things are happening, but then you always find you lead a crew, you lead a spot, and then, I'm always in Camden. Carly's always in Camden. The people that we know, we always in Camden. Basically, we live in Camden.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I think is both, is the fact that, and also if you see, back in the days it was different. If you go back to the 60s, you wouldn't have so much people traveling. Now everyone is traveling, and these beautiful things, of course, like which I see in the future, is just like I think way ahead. We won't have like, oh, this is an English songwriter, this is an Italian songwriter. Everything is going to be well mixed, and that's great. But that creates a lot of saturation. That at the same time, if you were in the 60s in London, there would be, 10 bands, which will be Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, and they all know each other,
Yeah.
and they create that. But now if you go there is, I don't know, man, there is a band every time that you breathe.
That's interesting. It's like I think now there's so many platforms and channels and ways to do things. You can be a quote unquote celebrity and have, 100,000, 200,000 people watch your stream online. And then I could mention you to someone and they'd be like, I have no idea who that is. Like, not even an idea that even existed,
So, yeah, I think, yeah.
Do you try to work in like YouTube and social media into what you do, or is it more of a pain in the ass?
No, I started because of lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really good in creating in Instagram content, and just because I have fun with it.
Yeah.
I don't use particularly Facebook too much. Like just when I have to say something, this is happening, come here. I think Facebook, we all know is just not going really well at the moment. I'm really bad at YouTube. It's just because I don't know what to do with it apart from posting my videos. But in terms of lockdown, I had to learn how to stream professionally.
Yeah.
And that was great. And then open up a whole scenario of like, oh, cool. Now I learn how to use digital cameras and a professional sound to create a home gig. That's a really cool thing that I think we should do once a month. You have a home gig, a gig at home online. And I love that.
Yeah,
that's good. It's becoming saturated again because we all locked in and there is not much live music and people are not too much interested about it. But I think that having that every now and then, it also gives you a different side of the artist. If you watch other people's streamings, you're like, oh, okay, that's how he is not on stage. You will have a chat and stuff. So I'm really enjoying the streaming. To be honest,
I think we're going to see a lot more of it too as we head into the colder months. I mean, right now, people are outside or in their yard or at the beach or God only knows what horrible thing they're doing out in the motorcycle festivals here, where there's thousands of people. But as things get colder again, people are going to be in their homes with little to nothing to do. So I wonder if we're going to see a big spike in streaming.
I think we are already, and I think is as always when there is something new, we all go for it, and we go like, it's all stream and it's all watch streams, and then nobody cares anymore, which is gonna be like that. But also I think it's gonna open up a different scenario of ways to do gigs.
Yeah.
And I think it would be cool, even like, some venues already do that. Like you can always have a venue open when when normality is going to come back, if it's going to come back. And you can always stream a gig from your venue. And I think that's, to be honest, a really cool thing to do.
Yeah. I think it'll give you a lot more exposure to either people who, couldn't get a sitter to watch the kids or, or once you stream it, generally it's up so you can watch it later too. So
exactly.
It's been an interesting year, and I think we're going to see a lot of stuff come out of it. But hopefully, we'll see some good stuff, not just horror shows.
Yeah.
So you said you have a song coming up on the 11th, which is only a couple days away.
So there is it too dark? Do you need me to
Oh, no, it's fine. When this goes up, it's only going to be audio. This is just kind of to make it easier for us to chit-chat.
Right. So, yes, I have on the 11th, I have this lockdown track, which we recorded remotely. And it's called Bella Ciao, and is a traditional folk Italian song, which was sung by the partisans, which were the guys that were basically fighting against fascism and then Nazism. And then it became really popular, kind of almost a national anthem. And Tom Waits with Mark Ribot did a version in English, and I was like, that's great, because I think they are the only ones. I think it was Tom Waits that translated it, and he did an amazing job in translation. And I was like, I really want to do this. I think it's really relevant because it is a song that really is not talking about really fascism. It's talking about freedom, and it's talking about austerity. So I was like, that's a really relevant song that I want to do. I wanted to do this cover. And we just give it a really different twist, and it became kind of like a sort of like a spaghetti western meets Tarantino.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so that's coming out. I'm excited about it. And something else we did. That was really cool. We did thanks to streaming and lockdown. We did a session in studio. There was a stream session in studio, which we recorded professionally of an hour gig. And then it came out so good that we were like, do we have a recorder? Yes, great. Let's mix and master it and edit the videos and everything. So now I'm at home editing all the videos that I download from this stream session that we did at Buffalo Studio in London. And we got the master back, and basically we have a live album. And I'm like, wow, we got a live album out of a streaming in a studio. That's good. And that is gonna be out still on Spiritual Records later on in November.
Nice. Where are those things going to be found? Are they on like on iTunes and?
Yeah, all of that. Like you will find everything on Spotify, iTunes. I have an album out at the moment. It's called Barflies, and if you just find Bandini and then Barflies, you find me. And everything is updated on the website, of course, www.bandinimusic.com, and that kind of thing.
Do you still sell CDs? Is that a thing, or am I just dating myself?
I printed for the old audience, and maybe for my parents and my parents' friends.
Thanks, man. I remember, I'm going to tell you this quick story. It was a couple of years ago. Actually, it's quite a few years ago now that I think about it. My son had just picked up the saxophone, and I wanted to get him some CDs from bands that I liked that had saxophone in them. And so I was kind of like online, like looking around or whatever. And then I text my ex-wife. I'm like, does he even have a way to play CDs? And she's like, no, not at all.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Different times, man.
Different times, I know.
But I want to say thank you for taking the time to talk to us. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, man, thank you very much. I had a great chat with you, man. Thank you.
Yeah, and anytime you got something else coming out, just like let us know, and we'll get you back on the show. It was a lot of fun, and it's always great hearing someone else's perspective from another country and what's going on there. So.
Thanks, man. Thanks for inviting me here. And if I will ever be able to come to US, I will give you a shout out.
Oh yeah, you'll have to hit up Plymouth. I'm telling you, there's some really, really great bands coming out of this area. Quite a variety too. Like we have a reggae band that's coming out of this area that's really starting to, prior to COVID, was touring the country, and there's a lot of good music going on here.
All right, yeah. Man, it's a long time that I want to come to US, so I'm just waiting to the old thing to pass, and then I will be there.
Outstanding, yeah. So thanks again, and thanks to our listeners for listening. We'll see you guys again next week.
Okay.
Thanks for listening to today's podcast. You can find us on all social medias at Inebri-art or on Instagram at Inebri-art6. You can email us at Inebri-art@yahoo.com. And make sure you listen to the other podcasts on the Inebri-art Podcast Network, including Bar Talk, Old Colony Cast, Retro Redoctopus, America's Hometown Horror Podcast, and our newest one, Theme Park Legends, a podcast about working at theme parks. What else? And we'll catch you again next time.